Sebastian Gray. He was one of the biggest babies that I've ever seen, and he was early, so that's crazy to me.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. We are just delighted to have Paige here today to talk about her son Sebastian, and excited to have both you and Ben on. I'm so Lee has already chatted with Ben, and so we're so excited to finally get to chat with you, Paige. So welcome to Still a Part of Us.
Thank you for having me. It's something that we've been talking about for a while, and Ben was really excited to share with me the podcast and everything. And he's like, they're very similar to us, and there's more people out there that this has happened to, and it's not just us who's going through it. So it's as much as it sucks, it's
Yeah.
nice to be part of a community.
Yeah, it is. It's not a great community to be a part of, but it is a great community to be a part of. So
Right.
I know.
Everybody's very supportive.
Yes, extremely so. Paige, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your family and what it looks like, as well as what it looks like when Sebastian was born.
So, in on my side of the family, I have a older sister and my mom. It was just us for a long time, but my stepdad came into the picture, and so he's been a great support through that as well, and he's really helped my mom through the grieving process as well.
Oh, great.
And then on Ben's side, he has everybody and anybody you could imagine, grandparents and siblings and nieces and cousins. So quite a few of them were very supportive and reached out to us during the process of grieving Sebastian.
Hmm.
When we had Sebastian, it was 2022, so not a lot of people were allowed in the hospital,
Yeah.
but they, because of the specific circumstance, they allowed more people in. So we had my mom and his parents, and his sister-in-law actually works at the hospital, so she was able to come in with his brother.
Yeah.
So that was really nice to have all that support there.
Yeah. And are you guys, tell me where you guys are located?
We're in Arkansas.
Okay, so you guys are in the South there, and then are you guys from the same city? Did you guys know each other growing up, and how did you meet each other?
So I'm actually originally from Iowa, and we moved down when I was very young. And so I grew up in Mountain View, Arkansas. That's where my grandparents retired.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like towards the top of the state. And I was looking into going to the university, and I happened to see that Ben was mutual friends with somebody on Facebook that I knew, and I was like, "Oh, he looks kind of cute," and so connected with him through there, and it's just the rest is history
The
with
rest is
that.
history. Nice. So how long have you guys been together?
We've been together for 8 years.
Okay, great. And how was your tell me a little bit about yourself as a couple. Like what do you guys like to do? You met 8 years ago and have been together for that long. What do you guys like to do in your spare time?
Well, Ben's a big gamer, and
Mm.
when we first got together, I really wasn't, and but the more we've been together, the more I'm like, "Okay, I wanna do something with you," so we'll play just silly
Y-
little games, and, like, we
yeah,
have the Switch, and we'll play Mario Party, and we love to go to the movies together, and
that's great. I mean, you gotta find commonalities and hang out with each
yes.
other, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have been married for 8 years then, or just been together for 8
We've
years?
been married for 4
4
years.
years, okay, and then so was, having kids on your radar? Was that something you guys planned on? Was that a or you never wanted to have kids? It people have different goals, so I just am wondering, did you guys wanna have kids?
Yeah, we definitely did. We actually talked about it very early on in our relationship because that was a big deal breaker for me. If you didn't wanna have kids, then I couldn't see myself being with you, and
Right.
so we talked about that very early on, and we both agreed that we wanted to have kids, but wanted to wait till timing was right, and make sure I was out of college before, because we wanted to make sure that it was financially stable and the
Mhm.
right decision.
Yeah, okay. So were you planning on getting pregnant with Sebastian at that time then?
Yes, in 2021, we actually talked with my sister-in-law who she struggled to get pregnant with her first child.
Mm, mhm.
And so we talked with her about it, and I was like, "We don't even know if I can get pregnant and everything, so why don't we just start trying?" Because I was still in college at that point, and so in January 2021, we started trying, and we realized I didn't ovulate.
Oh, okay.
So they put me on the medication Clomid,
Mhm.
and I got pregnant the first time with it,
You did.
but at 5 weeks, I lost the baby,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry
and
about that.
then we tried again that next month, I got pregnant with Sebastian.
Okay.
So,
Once you got ovulating, that was it was fine,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so, tell me about how it went when you found out you guys were pregnant with Sebastian.
It was really exciting because we thought it was gonna take a year or
Mhm.
more and a lot more than what it actually did, and so we were really excited about it. Ben was nervous because he's like, "I don't know if I'm gonna be a good dad," but his brother is very shy and everything. We watched him blossom when they had their children, and so I'm like, look at Brandon now, and they have a 4-year-old, and I'm like, "Look how he has grown with that." So I'm like, "It's you're not gonna be a natural at it first. You've gotta learn and
You
make
grow it
mistakes."
Yeah, you grow into it.
Mhm.
Was there any sort of worry since you lost your first pregnancy at 5 weeks? Were you guys still a little hesitant, or were you just kind of being cautious?
We were a little hesitant with it just because I wasn't sure. I was like, "Well, I know a lot of people lose their first pregnancies," and I was like, with having that miscarriage already, I was very cautious with it. And then, you know, obviously something still can happen after 12 weeks, but everybody's like, "Oh, once you make it to 12 weeks, it's very rare for something to happen and you'll be
Mhm.
fine." And so that's was my big goal, was make it to 12 weeks and we'll be fine.
Okay. So, did you end up going to the doctor at, like, 8 or 9 weeks or so? Is that kind of I think it's
Yeah.
usually generally about that
We
time.
went at 8 weeks and had the ultrasound, and Ben, they just made it more real, and I think Ben cried at that one.
Oh, yeah. It's overwhelming when you're like, "Oh, that's that's
There's actually
that's
something
our little
there.
bean."
Yes. Because at that point, you can't really feel anything, so you're like, "Okay, are you actually there?"
Mhm.
Or
Yeah. And how were you feeling? Did you notice anything that first little bit?
I was extremely nauseous, never actually got sick,
Oh.
but I was extremely nauseous the whole
Mm.
pregnancy.
Oh, the entire pregnancy, not just that
Mhm.
first trimester. Oh,
And
man.
dizzy, and
Oh,
it was so weird. I had to be on, like, medication that made me not dizzy, and
yeah.
that
Oh,
was that was the worst part, honestly.
yeah. Extra meds and everything that's no fun. I'm so sorry. So, everything looked good at that first doctor's appointment?
Oh, absolutely, and we went back at 12 weeks and, saw that baby basically quadrupled in size and
Yeah.
everything looked great then, and we were able to see it move more and the heartbeat more, and it was really exciting and everything looked great.
Awesome. And Ben was able to go with you, is that right, to these
Yes,
appointments?
we were only allowed one person in the room, and Ben always made sure that either he had the day off or he took the day off, so he came to every single appointment that I had.
That's great because I mean, you guys got pregnant in
We
did
got
you get
pregnant in 2021.
21? Okay, and so there was still plenty of COVID restrictions that were happening in a lot of places, and so I suspected that that would be, that's always kind of a tricky thing at that time.
Luckily, he was able to come with me. We just had to wear a mask, but
Okay,
other than that, it was great.
okay. And this is an OBGYN that you guys know and have used for a while? I mean, is that or was this kind of a new doctor to you guys?
No, I've been seeing her since I moved. Very supportive. I love her to death. She listens to everything I say and my concerns, and she's honestly the best doctor I could have asked for.
Oh, that's great. That's yeah, you always hope for that kind of thing when you especially going through something like this.
She actually had experienced her own loss, and
Oh,
so having that extra sympathy, and she knew what I was going through, really helped, and she was more sensitive to the situation since that she had already gone through a loss as well.
yeah. Yeah, that's huge. That never happens, it feels like, so oh, that's what a blessing right there to have her. Okay, so you guys are going along, you're feeling nauseous, but, everything generally is okay, or how are things looking? Any Any scares or anything
No,
like that along
e
the way?
everything was great. Like, I have type 1 diabetes, so I'm high
Okay.
risk as already,
Yes.
and so we had to go to Little Rock to UAMS
Mhm.
for my anatomy scan because they had to get with diabetic babies, they typically can have something wrong with their heart.
Mhm.
So we had to go there for that, and they did the anatomy scan, and then we went back at 24 weeks for a, um, cardiologist appointment.
Oh, perfect. So just get a like a fetal
Mhm.
echo or something like that?
Yeah, and everything was fine, and there was no issue. He was just measuring really big. With diabetic babies, they measure
They measure.
very large.
Yeah, okay.
So everything went great with that, and they didn't see any issues other than that he was big.
Yeah. And at the 20-week scan, was there and he looks great, everything checked out, right? So
Mhm.
everything was
Yeah.
looking great.
They said that his I think it was his forearm was measuring a little bit bigger than they usually see, but other than that, they're like, "That's fine. It's not like it's a big deal if his
Yeah.
forearm's big."
Okay. He's just gonna be a good swimmer?
Right,
I don't
maybe.
okay. And the echo was fine as well.
Mhm.
Did you guys, end up having any baby showers or anything to prep? Because this is your first, and so that's always a big deal and so exciting.
When we found out he was a boy, we I left work early and Ben left work early, and he picked up a cupcake from one of our local bakeries in town and had them fill it with, the color.
So Ben knew. Did Ben know?
Ben did not know. He had just handed them the paper, and they went and did it in the back.
Okay.
And so we came home, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed that he was a boy, because on Ben's side of the family, there's 6 great-granddaughters and not a single grandson.
Oh,
So I was expecting a girl. I was
a
like,
girl.
"There's no way this is a boy."
Totally a girl, right?
And, like, on my side, it's primarily girls. So I'm like, "There's
Oh.
no way that this is a boy."
Oh, man.
And so it was a little shocking, to be honest. I was like, I can't change it, so I'm just gonna have I just have to deal with it and grow. I obviously grew to love that I was having a boy, and you know, getting to do all the things that a boy mom gets to do: go out and play in the dirt,
I
and
know. Boy moms. Yeah, for reals. It's like the best.
yes. And then when we found out it was a boy, I sent the picture to my boss at the time, and she brought in cupcakes the next day for me and everything. And
Oh, that's so sweet and fun to have other people celebrate with you.
we had a baby shower at Ben's work.
Mhm.
And then his mom and my mom threw a baby shower for us for just
For
family.
family members.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's so fun. It is such a fun time to kinda celebrate and just get excited for the new parents, so,
Yes.
okay, and then so when you found out at the anatomy scan, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's when you guys found out was the during the anatomy scan? Like, you got
The
the information that he was a
we
boy.
actually got a blood draw at 16 weeks, and
Oh, okay.
it took about a week and a half to get that back because we also did like the genetics blood draw with
Oh,
that as well.
perfect, okay, and then on the genetic blood draw, did you guys see anything that was abnormal on that?
Nope,
Okay,
everything came back fine.
okay, very cool. When you found out that you were gonna have a boy and were slightly disappointed, um, did you start working through names then?
We did actually, and like at one point his name was going to be Quincy, and we were
Mhm.
just like, we love that name, but I'm like, I don't know, I just can't see us having a Quincy.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we finally agreed on Sebastian, and for weeks we'd just be in the car driving, and I'd be like, "Oh, what about this name? Or what about that name for the middle name?" And I think we drove past a billboard and it had the name Gray on it. And Ben's like, "What about Sebastian Gray?"
Oh, it has a really nice flow to it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm like, you know what? That's actually perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's unique enough, but it's not like a weird unique.
Yeah. Yes, it totally is, so and then Sebastian, was there any reason why you guys chose that one, or was it just a name that you guys really liked?
We both really like it, and honestly, like, after we named him and everything, the games that we play together, I realized that a lot of characters are named Sebastian
Oh,
in
oh.
our games that we play, so I'm like, "Maybe that's why
It was
that we
like,
fell in
put
love with
into
it."
your brain over and over
Yes.
and over again.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny, that's great, okay, well, cool. So, you guys are clipping along, doing really good. I'm assuming because you are high risk because of the type 1 diabetes, that you were probably going in a little bit more often than regular appointments if there was
I
no high risk.
I would go in normal with my OB, but I want to say starting at 30 weeks, I started going to the hospital every week just to get like this like movement and everything. And I
Oh,
would
gotcha.
sometimes be there for 3 hours just because he was not very cooperative sometimes. He would move away from the
Oh,
monitors and everything, and so they had to come and reposition it, and because they have to have get
a
so
certain
much of
mhm.
it in one steady go, and
Oh, that's
so
funny. He was
he was
not being cooperative. He didn't
no,
like
like,
being poked and
when
prodded.
Ben would try to, like, touch my stomach when he was moving, he would move away from Ben.
Oh!
Ben didn't get to feel him a whole lot just because he would just move.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, "Come on. You don't like to be poked and prodded, huh?"
He's one of, the other doctors that would sometimes just do the fetal echo, and
Mhm.
she would come in, and he loved her, would move straight to her.
Oh!
But, like, anybody else that went to, like, poke and prod, he'd be like, "Nope, I'm moving away."
Yeah, you're not poking and prodding nicely.
Yes.
That's so cute. I love how you can tell and feel their personality already.
Yes. Like, he hung out on the right side most of the time.
Oh, okay. And so would you say that he was fairly active, like, movement-wise?
Oh, absolutely, and, like, every night, as soon as I would lay down, he would get the hiccups.
Oh, that's kind of fun,
It's
actually.
kinda fun, but also it's after a while, like, it's very annoying. I'm like,
You're
"Just
like,
settle
"Okay,
down,
I
go to
gotta go to
bed."
bed."
Yes. But he was very active. He would, like at one point, I think it was around Christmas, me and my mom were laying on her bed, and she was looking at my stomach, and she's like, "I think that's his nose sticking out." And, like, I looked down, and you could see the outline of his nose
Oh,
on my stomach.
oh, that is kind of fun. That's, like, cool.
Right? Because you normally, like, you see the footprints and
Yeah,
everything through somebody's
totally.
stomach, but it was the nose.
He was smashing his face against
He's
your
like, "Let
belly.
me out. I'm done."
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, so things are going along, and tell me about how things transitioned and, like, as you're getting a little bit closer to the end.
So, in the process of this, we were actually getting ready to sell our home.
Oh, okay, that's a lot too.
It
Holy
was
cow.
a lot because we like to have an office, and at
Yes.
that time, we lived in a two-bedroom home.
Mhm.
So I'm like, "Where are we gonna put a baby?"
Mm,
So, we started getting ready to sell our house. Sold our house in the, like, middle of February,
'kay.
bought our house at the end of February,
Oh, okay.
and moved in the middle of a snowstorm.
Oh, in
But
Arkansas. Like,
yes,
it's
so
oh, you always like, "Wait a second, do they?"
yes.
Yeah.
The some years, it is, like, 12 inches of snow, some years, nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
So it depends on what the weather wants to do that
And you're
year.
like, "This was the year. There was a
Yes.
snowstorm."
So we moved in the middle of a snowstorm, and I think we were 36 weeks when we got here.
Okay.
So setting up the nursery and getting that Ben was working full time. I had recently quit my job just because it made more sense for me to stay home at that point.
Mm, 'kay.
So I was unpacking the house and getting the nursery ready. And when Ben would come home, we would build the crib or get the
Mhm.
dresser built or, doing all those last minute things. I definitely could have waited,
Yeah,
but
but it's fine. 36 weeks, fine. Yeah.
I was like, it's fine. I'm like, I feel more energized than ever. Let's go.
Yeah, you're like, "I am nesting."
Yes. Yes, moving during nesting was definitely interesting because I was like, "Okay, I can actually fully nest now because I can
This is a
put
spot.
everything where I
Yep.
want," and
Mhm, mhm. Oh, cool. Okay.
so it was definitely interesting moving in the middle of that, and, like, my sister, she's a teacher, so she
Mm.
would come down almost every weekend, and she's like, "Okay, we have one last weekend before it's just you and him, and we need more time when it's just me and you," and
Oh, yeah. So you guys got to hang out and do stuff
yeah, we
together.
yeah, we went and did stuff almost every weekend, and her and my mom would come down with buckets of just stuff for Sebastian. My mom would always say, "Sebastian's spending my money again,"
That is adorable.
because Sebastian is the first grandchild for her.
Yeah. So she's like, "Yes, I am going to blow all my money on
Oh,
this
absolutely.
baby."
Like, I think I maybe bought 10 outfits for him. He has a full closet. I She bought the crib for us. She bought the
Oh,
car seat and stroller. Like, she was an amazing support through it all, and during the grief part as well, she was an amazing support system as well.
yeah. I mean, it's her first grandbaby, so that is hard for
Yes.
her as well. tell me when, as you're getting a little bit closer after you guys have settled and you're starting to really nest, how are things going with how he was moving and everything?
He was moving every day, like, I I definitely tried to take it easy just because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, I know I'm pretty far along and shouldn't
Mhm.
I didn't move anything heavy because not supposed to do that."
Yep.
So, I would, just I would unpack a few boxes and go lay down, and he'd be moving around, and so up until because he was moving that Monday before because we went in on a Tuesday for the
Mhm.
ultrasound, and he was moving and doing his backflips and hiccups and
All the things.
all the things.
Nothing crazy or normal, just normal, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So on that Monday, he was good, and then you went in on Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, tell me how that went, and was Ben with you for that
Ye
one?
yes, he was with me because we scheduled it for that Tuesday because Wednesday was our scheduled C-section anyways.
Oh, it was, okay, so you guys had that on the docket just because, once again, you're high risk,
Yeah, and
correct?
so with diabetes, you don't go to 40 weeks, so at 38 weeks, we decided, "Okay, this is gonna be the day, and we're gonna have a scheduled C-section," because he was breech.
Oh, okay,
So
great.
we went in one last time to make sure, is he still breech, and if not, then we can try to have a normal birth.
Mhm,
But so we went that day. My sister had taken both of our dogs because I was
mhm.
like, okay, I don't know how long we're going to be in the hospital for, and I
Yeah,
can't just leave them at home alone. So she took our dogs and me and Ben, and we went out and had breakfast, and we did some last minute shopping, and we went and had a nice lunch, and went to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor even said, "That's weird. He's on the left side. He's normally on the right."
oh,
I was, and I was like, "You're right." I was like thinking maybe he had flipped.
mhm,
So I was like, okay, maybe he's turned around. And since I'm like, maybe if he's correct way, maybe he's decided he wants to be on the left side because the whole pregnancy I was breech.
yes, okay,
So I was like, okay, maybe with him turned the right way, we can actually, he wants to be on the left side.
yeah.
So I didn't think anything of it. And
Did
we went
you
about our day. And
did you notice any movement changes or anything during the morning while you guys were hanging out?
uh, I didn't because we were just like, as soon as we got up, we started going and
Going,
doing things.
gotcha,
So, when you're up and active and doing stuff, like you're not necessarily paying attention to that.
totally, yeah, okay,
And so when we went back to the ultrasound room, they asked me, they're like, "Do we want to do a cervical exam?" And I was like, "Well, let's wait because those aren't super fun."
nope, nope,
So I was like, "Let's wait to see if he's breech, and if he's breech, then no, I'm not going to do that because there's no reason for it."
mhm.
I was like, "But if he's not breech, we'll do it." So she came in and she did the ultrasound, and she was like, she was looking around for a little bit. I was like, "That's weird. I mean, he's huge." And so then she's like, "Well, she's like, there's like a shadow over his heart," and started looking around some more. And I kinda looked at Ben, and then she turned and looked at me, she's like, "There's no heartbeat."
She told you?
Yes. Our OB is certified with the ultrasound and everything, so she did every single ultrasound we had.
Okay.
So she looked at us and she said, "There's no heartbeat." And I looked at her and said, "Excuse me, are you kidding me?" She's like, "No." She's like, "There is no heartbeat."
Oh,
So we sat there, and I think we cried for a good 20, 30 minutes before she asked us if she wanted us to look for her to look again. And so we obviously said yes.
yes.
And she's like, "There is no heartbeat." So
Oh,
she said, "Go home, call your family and everything." She walked us through the back so that way we didn't have to go through the entrance and see all the pregnant moms, everything. So she walked us to the back. She gave us her personal cell phone number. And she said, "Okay, I'll see you in the morning at the regular time that we scheduled before. Go home, get rest, do what you need to do."
oh,
So as we were driving home, I looked at Ben because he was supposed to have 6 weeks of paternity time off.
yeah,
And I looked at him, I said, "Are you gonna get this time off? I'm like, I can't be alone."
yeah.
So we went to his work and he talked to them, and they said, "Do what you need to do, don't worry about it." And so he actually got in contact with insurance, and he got a little upset with them because they're like, "No, because your baby's not alive, you don't get this anymore." And he's like, "This is ridiculous." And so he actually went to the doctor, was able to get 6 weeks of disability.
Mhm.
So I don't know what code she punched in, but she typed in something that was able to get him 6 weeks off.
Oh my gosh.
So then when we got home, Ben wanted to just sit down and like take it all in. And we had like the bassinet in the room, and we had a swing out in the living room, and we had like everything out. And so I just started picking stuff up and moving. And he's like, "Don't do that." I'm like, "I have to do something. I cannot sit here." So we took the car seat out, and we moved everything out of the rooms and into the nursery, and we just shut the nursery door.
Yeah. Were you just
And
bawling this entire time? I would just be like, when you start grabbing stuff, you're just like, "This is it." It was painful for me to gather stuff. I don't know if
oh,
that makes sense.
absolutely.
So,
I was crying, but honestly, I was more mad. I wanted to throw something
oh, okay.
because I was like, "What did I do? What?" Everything was perfect. I made sure to eat right and make sure I exercised and made sure I wasn't lifting heavy things. And I was like, "I don't understand. I did everything right."
Yeah.
So I
When
was
you
I was angry.
yes. And I don't think we talk about how angry many of us are
Yes.
when you find out, or yeah, and when you go through this entire process. So, Paige, when the doctor told you that there was no heartbeat, did you guys ask her a bunch of questions? Did you ask her what happened? I mean, like, that is usually
I think I was more in shock. Like
mm,
I'm like, I can't be hearing you right because I'm
mhm,
literally a day away from having my baby, and you're telling me he's not alive.
yeah,
And I do believe we asked, like, I know I remember asking her. I said, "What did I do wrong?" She's like, "Nothing. You did nothing wrong."
yeah,
Because as the mom, and I'm supposed to be responsible for this life, and all of a sudden this life is no longer here.
yeah,
So I remember being like, "Okay, I did this."
yeah,
So, I mean, even with only being around a year out, I still sometimes think I'm like, I did something,
mhm, yeah.
even though I know I didn't.
I know,
But
yeah. It just there's that weight that is on you, even when you're like, I did the best I could, and
yes,
yeah. So you were moving things into the nursery. You're
hmm,
mad.
yes, I was angry. I mean, I struggle with being angry as is,
Mhm.
but I felt like almost like I was seeing red.
Mm.
I was so angry.
Yeah.
I was angry at myself. I was angry at the doctor. I was angry at Sebastian.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just angry.
Just angry. And what did you guys do the rest of that day, or and evening?
Because our appointment was around 3, and my sister and my mom were both at work that day. My mom's a nurse, my sister's a teacher, and they were both waiting to see with that phone call of, "Is he still breech? Are we gonna have a regular birth or not?"
Right. Yeah.
So, originally, we weren't gonna tell anybody when we went to the hospital because they weren't gonna be able to come in anyways.
Mhm.
So I'm like, "What's the point of having people wait around and basically pester us being like, 'Hey, where's the baby? Where's the baby? Where's the baby?'" So I was like, the only people that needed to know was my mom and my sister because they took our dogs.
Yeah.
So we called my mom first, and she said the first thing she said was, "Is he turned around? What's the news? What's going on?" And I said, "He's no longer alive." And she said, "What?" So I told her again, and she was in the middle of her shift at the hospital, and she's a traveling nurse, so she was in Rogers at the time, which is about a 3-hour drive from us.
Oh, okay.
And so she broke down crying. She's like, "Okay, I don't want to do, okay." And so she went to her manager and was like, "I have to leave. I cannot be here."
Yeah.
So she met my stepdad halfway because she couldn't really be driving herself safely.
Right.
And my sister came down right away because she's about a 2-hour drive from us as well.
Mhm.
So my mom and my sister and my stepdad came for a little bit, and then his parents came over after a while. His At first his mom was like, "Can I come over?" I said, "No, I need to see my mom first. I can't see anybody else right now. I need my mom."
Yeah. Mhm.
And so she came over. My mom stayed the night with us and went to the hospital with us because we were allowed one more person in the room for certain.
Yes.
So, and then when we got there, they were like, "Okay, we just have to clear it with our manager, but you were allowed so many other people.
Okay.
You just have to let us know when they're coming."
Right. He was still breech,
Hmm.
and, I'm assuming was a decision to just have a C-section still?
Yeah, she asked me. She said she went through the options. She said, "You can have a vaginal birth." She said, "You will be traumatized. Ben will be traumatized. Anybody in that room is going to be traumatized." She said, "We can do a regular C-section with Ben in the room, or we can put you under anesthesia. I said, put me out. I will not be awake for this. Which I kind of regret that decision now because I don't remember most of that day.
Because you were yeah, the that'll do it to you. The anesthesia will do
Yes.
that to you.
Yes.
So,
But at the same time, I didn't want to be awake for that because during the C-section, when the baby's pulled out, you're supposed to hear that cry,
yeah,
and I knew I wasn't going to hear it. So
yeah. So you opted to go under to do that. Was that first thing in the morning the next morning, right?
yeah, the next morning we went in around I want to say 5 or 6 in the morning.
Mm,
And they didn't take me until about 8.
okay.
They took me around 7:30.
So you had your C-section. C-sections are fairly quick. I'm always a little surprised at how fast
I
it
was
goes.
I was only back there for about 30 minutes, they said.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But then you coming out of the anesthesia, do you remember when you sort of started to come out of it?
a little bit. I was still back in, like, the, recovery room,
Mhm, mhm.
and I remember I kept saying, "Where's my baby?" And they're like, they're cleaning him up, you can have him a little bit." And so I said, "Where's Ben?" So they went and got him, and then they told my mom that she couldn't come back there.
Mm,
So Ben came back there, and I said, "Where's mom? Where's mom?" And I kept asking for her. So they finally let her come back there. They brought Sebastian out, and we all held him. And I don't remember this, of course, but when they were wheeling us back to the room, like I was still in the bed and I was holding Sebastian. My mom, as her child, she was more observant of the situation. She noticed that nurses were just staring or like whispering. And she's like, I just don't understand. She's like, that's one disrespectful to you and your child.
yeah,
And also they shouldn't they need to learn from the situation. She's like, I don't want the recognition of the child is dead. I want the respect.
yeah,
Like they should have stood up or when we walked by, like say, I'm so sorry for your loss or
yeah,
because they were aware of the situation because Dr. Sick had called and been like, I want this nurse on her all day and I want, these people in the operating room. I don't want any students near her and stuff like that. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting that your mom would notice the nurses. I mean, yeah,
yes.
as being a nurse as well, you're like,
Hmm.
she's obviously very attuned to that culture and
Right.
okay. Um, when you decided to have the C-section or I like to basically go under for that,
Right.
what were your did they ask you what you wanted to happen afterward? As because it sounded like you got to hold him pretty quickly but he was cleaned up beforehand.
Yeah. What they actually do at this hospital, I don't know personally from like a regular C-section or like a vaginal birth,
Mhm.
but if you go under, they take the baby right away and clean them up. And if you have an outfit you want them in or whatever, they put the outfit on the baby and they take a lot of pictures because at that point they still look
Yes.
the nicest at that point.
Yes.
So they took a lot of pictures then so that way he would still look.
Amazing. That's great.
Yes.
Okay. So they did that and then you were able to that was kind of
Yeah.
like a okay, and then straight into my arms kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Was there any hesitation? I mean, like I know there are some parents that are worried about holding their baby after they've passed away. Did you guys have any reservations about that at all?
I didn't. I knew I wanted to hold him. I was like, I don't care if anybody else wants to hold him. I understand that's kind of a little weird situation because you're holding a dead body.
Mhm.
And so Ben had a little bit of hesitation. At one point I remember begging him to hold him because I knew he was going to regret it.
Yeah.
So he held him for a little bit, but I held him most of the day.
Mm. Did your mom get to hold him? Did she want to hold him?
She did hold him a little bit, and then I would ask her, be like, "Do you want to hold him?" And she would be like, "Are you done holding him?"
That was a good
Because
mom question.
yes, because I mean, she knew that I wasn't going to get that chance again. So she would be like, "Are you done?"
Mm.
And I'd be like, "No," and she's like, "Then no, I don't need to hold him."
Yeah.
So everybody has like his parents got to hold him, his brother and his sister-in-law got to hold him. Like Brandon, his brother.
Mhm.
I remember saying, when he came in, I said, "Do you want to hold him?" And he said, "No, it's okay." Because I get it. It's a weird situation.
Yeah.
And then finally, I remember him saying either to me or Ben, and he said, "Can I hold him?" Absolutely.
Mm.
I want everybody to have that chance.
Yeah. I just think that is so great that there were so many family members that were able to come and see him because that's especially with COVID, that was another slap in the face for a lot of parents is that it was just them. And it was almost like that their baby didn't exist because nobody got to meet them while they were here. So
Yeah.
I think that's great that they were able to get approval to get people in. And so I think
Yes.
that's so great.
I wish my sister would have been able to come, but she was working at the time, and
Mhm.
we were told, like, after his brother was brought in, they said, "Okay, we can't have any more visitors."
Oh, okay.
But when we talked to a different nurse later on, she was like, "Oh, no, we don't restrict visitors for that. You can have as many as you want." So I think it might have been a miscommunication
Darn.
somewhere,
Yeah, that's a bummer.
but
Okay. What are some things that you guys did while you were in the hospital that you wanted to do while you had him?
so he came out with quite a bit of hair.
Mhm.
So I was like, "I wanna brush his hair. I just wanna brush his hair." So they brought me actually, like, one of the, like, scrub brushes that they use to
Yeah.
clean their nails,
Mhm.
and so we brushed his hair, and we gave him a mohawk.
Yes. What color
And
hair was it, by the way?
it was almost when we first got him, because, they're still kinda wet from the bath
Yes.
that they give him, it would look dark brown, but as the day went on, it turned more like an auburn. Ben has red
Ooh.
hair,
Oh,
and I
yes, yes.
have a
Mhm.
dirty blonde hair, so we're expecting a redheaded baby anyways.
Yeah. Oh, how fun, and lots of it. That's so cool.
Yes.
Like, that's so, so fun.
And we are able Ben read him a book called "I Love You, Daddy,"
Mm.
and we got handprints and footprints in that book, and
Oh, good. Oh,
that
good.
was really
In
special. They
in the
made
book
sure we
itself.
had lots of hand and footprints, and they actually sent home the ink pads that they did it on, because there's hand and footprints on those as
Oh,
well.
that is cool. I've never heard
Our
of that
our
before.
nurse was fantastic. She, like, I don't remember getting the hospital blankets, and there was one day I was going through something in the nursery and I found the hospital blankets.
Oh, good.
So I asked my mom, I was like, "Did you pack these?" And she's like, "No." So our nurse was really fantastic about making sure we got anything and everything that we could.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Nurses who help in these situations are a godsend, I think.
Yes,
They
OB actually requested that she take care of us.
that is amazing. Also, just because your OB, since she is familiar with loss, she probably is familiar with the nurses that are the best at it. I like
Yes.
helping. I just think that's so great that she really took care of you that way. And oh, I was going to ask with how big did he end up being? How many pounds and how tall was he?
He was 9 pounds 11 ounces.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
At
big.
He was a big baby at 38 weeks,
Yeah.
and he was 20.5 inches long.
Oh, he's tall too.
He was very tall. I mean,
Yeah.
Ben's 6 foot, I'm 5'8". We were expecting a big baby.
A big baby. Anyway,
Yes.
okay. That's great. And then had you guys been referring to Sebastian by his name to everybody else? Or was this the first time where you were able to share it with the family?
No, we referred to him as Sebastian to everybody, and
Okay.
because I mean, everybody's gonna have opinions about the name, and not everybody in the family was happy about the name Sebastian. They're like, "This isn't a great name," and
Oh,
that's. I'm like, "Well, this is my baby,
yeah.
so
So
you had your chance to name the baby. This is my time."
yeah, exactly. This is my baby. Thank you.
Mm.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, it's always fun to see like if you it's like a reveal of the name at the time that they're born. So okay. So, Ben was able to read to him. You guys combed his hair, got tons of prints. Did you
we
guys end up doing any molds or anything like that? Were you able to do
um
that?
we didn't do any molds, but the hospital actually has, like, I guess they're clay
Mhm.
ornaments, and they did front and back hand and footprints,
Oh, perfect. Those are nice
and
too.
we have it hanging on our wall right now, and they did tons of stuff for us. They let us Ben cut his hair
What?
so we could
Oh,
have a
so you
little
have a little
bit.
bit okay.
Mhm. Yeah, they asked us, they said, "Do you wanna cut his hair so you can have a little bit?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, yes." I'm like, "Don't take it all,
Yes.
but yes, you can cut some."
He's got to have some mohawk.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cute. And then, were you guys I'm assuming you were probably just taking pictures with your cell phones and stuff like that, or did you have anybody come in and take photos, like nicer photos that could be
We
retouched
unf
later?
They used to have a photographer that would come in
Mhm.
for, like, either live births or stillborns, but
Okay.
because of COVID,
Yes.
they kinda stopped doing that, so we had our cell phone pictures, but they also brought in a camera for us to use.
Oh, great.
They said, "Take as many pictures as you want, take as little as you want, do whatever you want with this," and at the end of the day, they came and took the camera and put everything on a flash drive for us.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome.
So we have around 300 pictures of that day.
Oh, great. That is so nice to have those pictures. People don't realize how important those pictures are
Yes,
to
because
us later.
there was somebody that said, "You may not want them now, but you're gonna want them later."
Mhm.
And, like, our nurse, if she saw a cell phone laying around and she saw a cute moment, she would pick up the telephone, take a picture. She
Take a
wouldn't
picture.
ask or anything. I was like, some of these pictures I look back at, and I'm like, I didn't even know we had that because our nurse would just take a picture.
Oh, that is brilliant. That's so, so great. I was gonna ask, what was your, the hospital's policy about how long you could keep Sebastian?
So if we wanted an autopsy, it was 6 hours
Oh, okay.
because they said after 6 hours everything starts to deteriorate, and
Mhm.
we just don't know if we can get a actual definitive answer.
Right.
So we actually learned that I had a placental abruption.
Oh.
So I
From you learned that just because of during the
this
delivery?
mhm.
Okay, because of
my
okay.
my placenta was 75% detached.
Oh, wow.
And but with placental abruptions, normally you have bleeding or
Yes.
it's caused by something traumatic, and I had nothing.
Nothing. Exactly.
And that's like very rare for it to happen with no signs.
Right, and you didn't have any pain or anything too, because I think
Mm.
there's things that will help you get to the hospital so that maybe something could you yeah, but
Yeah,
nothing.
I mean, at 30 weeks, I had like the regular like aches and pains, but
Mhm.
nothing where I was like, I need to go to the hospital now.
Right. Nothing drastic.
So when they came and told us that, I was like, there's no reason for an autopsy because that was the reason.
Okay.
So they told us we could keep him as long as we wanted.
Okay.
We kept him for about 10 hours though, because um at the end of the day, once everybody had gone home, it was just me, Ben, and my mom. And so we that's when Ben read him the story. And the nurse asked, "Do you want footprints in this book?" Because she at first asked if I had a baby book. And of course I broke down and I was like, no, I didn't have a baby book with me. I don't know what I'm supposed to. And so I when I was repacking my bag the night before, I was like, I just stuck the book in there. Don't remember why. I just was like, I'm gonna put this in here. And so she's like, "Do you want handed footprints in this?" I said, "Yes." So he was in a little zip up onesie, and nobody told us this. When we unzipped him, he was peeling,
Mm.
so he was bright red.
Yeah.
So we got handed footprints in that, and at that point, we decided that it was time for us to say goodbye.
It's hard to
'Cause,
see, yeah, the skin deteriorate after just
yeah,
being
no one
held for
told
so
us
long.
that.
Oh, nobody said anything at all.
Mm. And we could have somewhat prevented that. They brought in a bassinet.
Mhm.
But when they brought it in, they separately brought in a bag of ice. So, of course, I saw that and I was like, "Don't." I'm like, "I'm not putting my baby on ice."
Nope. Yep, it just is so because 'cause you're like, my your instinct, your motherly instinct is to keep them warm.
Mhm.
You wanna hold them close and keep them warm, and you're like, "Ice, no, this n no." Like, yes.
Yeah, if they would have done that outside of the room, and I probably would have been like, "Okay, we'll put him down for a little bit."
Yes, but they brought it yeah.
I think it may have gotten forgotten or something happened where I saw the bag of ice and I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. That's not happening."
I would be horrified. I'd be yeah.
Because at the time, did not have a cuddle cot
Yeah. Okay.
where a mom lost her baby a couple months after us, and she actually raised money, and she raised enough money for two cuddle cots, and she donated one to each of the hospitals in
Oh, that's
town.
amazing. That's great.
So I'm glad that they finally have one, so that way, unfortunately, this is going to happen to somebody else, and
Yeah.
they can
But
keep their baby a little bit longer.
yeah, they can. So that was probably a little shocking to see him peeling so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, and because you had given birth in the morning, kind of earlier in the morning, and so you
Hmm.
kept him for about 10 hours. So that was like 6 or 7 in the evening?
Yeah, it was around that time. Yeah.
Okay, that you decided to, let him bring him back to the nurses. Is that kind of the
So actually, my OB came in
mhm.
and she said, "The funeral home is here. Do you want me to take him down to him? Do you want him to come up and just stay out of the room and we take him out, or do you want him to come in?" I said, "No, he will come in and I will see that face.
Mm,
I will know who's taking my baby."
yeah, okay, I like that. Yeah.
I was like, even though I know he's no longer alive, I'm like, I need to know who's taking my baby.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
And when he came in, you could tell he's a little uncomfortable, but he came in and he was very gentle and he told us that he was so sorry for our loss. And then he took Sebastian. And I later found out because I was a little worried about the putting in a body bag because that's what happens with a dead body is you put them in a body bag. So I was a little worried about that, but I later found out the funeral home we use, they don't put babies in a body bag.
Oh,
They have a bassinet in the back of the
they
hearse,
do? Oh,
and so they put the baby in in the
in little
bassinet.
bassinet, and so that is great. Yeah, because it yes, that the thought of that is also another horrifying thing to me. Just like,
Yes,
"Oh, no, I don't like that."
right, because you're not supposed to put a baby in there, and
Mm, just is not natural, just doesn't
right.
feel right. You had a major surgery with this
Yes,
C-section, so you had to be in the hospital probably for a couple more days.
I actually got released the next day.
They did. Oh,
Mhm.
you
Which
you were
I
doing
we were
okay
all kind of
then.
we were kind of surprised about because the first time they got me up, they let me stay in bed a little bit longer than a usual C-section just
Yeah.
because I was coming out of anesthesia and
Mhm.
being going through that trauma as is.
Yes.
So when they first stood me up, that's when I lost all that blood.
Oh,
So I was bleeding profusely, and so that's normal after having a placental abruption.
mhm.
Apparently, is bleeding a lot afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I have dogs.
Just fine. That's totally fine. You already talked about him, so yeah, it's fine.
And so, when I first stood up, I started bleeding a lot. My sister-in-law was in there at that time, and she actually stood in front of Ben, so that way he didn't see it. I don't think he was really paying attention as it is
Mm,
anyways, because he was such in a state of shock.
yeah.
So, took me to the bathroom, I bled a lot, and then at the night, my I looked at my mom, I was like, "I need to get up, I need to go to the bathroom," and she was like, "Okay, we can do that." I sat on the side of the bed and almost fell over
Oh,
because I had lost so much blood.
yes.
And so she called the nurse after our day nurse had left. She called the night nurse and was like, "Hey, I probably need some help getting her to the bathroom." And they're like, "Oh, she's already been up once before. You don't need help." And someone happened to be walking by, and my mom's struggling to get me to the bathroom right side up. And they're like, "Oh, you did need help."
Oh my goodness. Ah, okay.
So I was out of it from all the medication that they had given me because Dr. Sick, she had given me so much medicine.
Just like,
Because
"Mm,
after they took Sebastian, she's like, "You are going to sleep tonight. I don't care what happens. You are going to sleep."
yeah." Yes, that's
So
good.
being on top of all that medication and all the blood loss, standing was not the easiest.
Yes, yes. So you went to the bathroom. It was fine
Mhm,
though,
mhm.
finally. And the next day you were still were you feeling better the next year? I'm like, when you have
Yeah,
that kind of blood loss, it's just like, I'm surprised that they let you out so quickly.
yeah. They let me out. I want to say like we left around like 11 that day,
Mhm.
and I
Wow.
felt. I mean, I was still like a little medicated up,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but I felt fine enough to go home. And I think they try after all loss, they try to get you out as soon as possible, so that way you don't hear all the babies and everything.
Yeah. That's also another little level of torture, I think. So that's great that they were trying to get you
They they put
home.
us at the end of the hall away from all the mothers and
Mhm.
everything, so
Mhm.
that was nice.
So you guys were able to get home, leave that
Mhm.
following day, came home without your baby?
That was hard.
Yeah. Tell me about when you guys headed home.
So, my mom drove separately from us because we weren't sure if she was gonna be allowed to stay that night,
Mhm.
so she drove separately, and when we got home, I remember they went and took me to the bedroom to lay down because 'cause they're like, "Okay, you need to lay down. You've had a major abdominal surgery. You
Yes.
need to
Yes.
rest."
Mhm.
And so I remember I slept a lot, and that same day, we actually went to the funeral home,
Mm.
and I I would have to say hospitals need to give somebody else's number other than the mother's because
Oh,
the funeral home called me,
yeah. You're like, "No." Yes, don't what that is so funny, isn't it? Where you're like,
right?
"Come on, that's just a little touch of something that could help it not be so horrible."
Yes, I remember when we were still in the hospital, I got the phone call while my mom and Ben were down in the cafeteria getting breakfast. And they were like, "You can come in around this time to see your baby and everything." I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess we'll be there." So we went home for a little bit, and then we went to the funeral home, and his parents met us there.
Mhm.
And they were like, "You can pick out the urn, or we have this urn for you. It has this little blue teddy bear on it." I was like, "No, that one's perfect. I mean, that makes sense for him to be in that
Mhm.
because we wanted him to be at home with us."
Yeah, okay.
So we had him cremated. I remember being very adamant about that. I was like, "He will be cremated." Ben didn't really get a say in that one. He's like, whatever you want to do, we will do it."
Yeah.
So we had him cremated, and me and Ben were able to hold him again at the funeral home.
Mm.
We asked the funeral home director, we said, "Can we hold him one more time?" And he was like, "I'm not sure," because I guess nobody's really asked that.
Oh, really? Huh.
And so he went and talked to somebody, and he's like, "Yeah, you can hold him." And
Mm.
so he got him out of the bassinet for us and handed him to me. And so we were able to hold him one last time.
That's always this little special time, I think, just to
Yes.
have with your son.
And those honestly, like, when I look back and put side to side pictures of what he looked like at the funeral home versus what he looked like at the beginning,
Right.
drastic difference. Like his
Yes.
nose didn't even look the same.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's crazy how that it changes over time. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is yeah, the funeral home is its own special hardship. I feel like it's yeah.
It definitely is. It's its own little special torture for you because
Oh,
like you're supposed to go there for grandparents or even parents,
yep.
and but
Yep.
you're not supposed to go for your baby.
Nope. You and you're like, "I'm too young to be here." That was the thought that I had. I was like, "I shouldn't be planning a funeral. This is what's
Hmm.
happening? Where am I? What is this? What is going
Yes,
on?"
and luckily the funeral home that we used, they did everything for free.
Oh, that is
So
so
that because
kind.
you plan for the cost of maybe formula and getting diapers and
Mhm.
everything they may need, but you don't plan for a funeral.
A funeral, and they can be expensive. So,
Yes, and I remember they asked me if I wanted to do a service, and I was like, "No, I can't." I'm like, "No, I'm not supposed to have a service for my baby. That's no, that's." So we didn't do anything, and I look back on it, I kinda wish we did, but
mm,
we did something special for his first birthday, so that kinda serves as our memorial service.
yeah. So you were you able to get him home with you guys pretty quickly? I don't know how
It
long
was
that takes to do
it was the week after. We actually Doctor Six saw me, every week for 6 weeks.
after.
Yeah, because she wanted to make sure I was doing okay mentally, and with
Yes.
the C-section and everything, she just wanted to make sure everything was healing correctly.
Yeah.
And so we were at the appointment actually, and they called me again and said he's ready to be picked up. And my mom and my sister were actually on their way in, and so I called them. So they met us at the funeral home, and we got to take him home that day. And they made sure to seal him
Mhm.
rather than because I don't think I'd be okay if something happened and he spilled.
Yes. Once again, another like, little bit of,
Definitely another like, oh my gosh, this is a new fear that I never thought I would have.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that is great. That was pretty quick actually, like, to
It was really quick.
did you guys do anything when you got home with him, though? I'm curious if you were able to
So our OB's office actually they make blankets with the baby's name on it.
Oh.
It's a white blanket, and if it's blue or pink for a girl or boy.
Mhm.
And since my sister-in-law actually worked at the hospital, she said that I would probably want that, and because she goes to the same clinic as I do.
Oh,
So we went there, and they said we had this made. We don't know if you want it. I said absolutely, I want it. You're recognizing that I had a baby.
yeah. Yeah, that's great.
So I actually that's on our entertainment center is his blanket, and he sits on top of it. And my sister-in-law passed by the gift shop and kept seeing this blue teddy bear. Didn't know that we got a blue teddy bear on the urn,
Mhm.
and kept being like, "That reminds me of Sebastian." So she bought it and filled it with glass beads to be his exact weight,
Oh, that is cool.
and so that sits behind him as well.
Oh, that's so sweet. So you have he has a spot.
Yes,
He's hanging out with you guys.
and I remember the first like month or so that we were at home, it's a company called Caden Lane. They
Mhm.
make like the custom name blankets and everything.
Oh, mhm.
And so I had a swaddle made for him, and it got lost in the mail.
Oh.
So I contacted him. I was like, "Hey, it's not a big deal, but can you send it to me because I'm about to have my baby and everything?" They sent it to me, and then the other one showed up.
Oh, so you had 2.
So I was able to keep the one that he was wrapped in all day and then send him with one.
Oh, that is great.
So I remember going to bed with that blanket every night
Yeah, because it has a smell on it and
because our nurse actually she came back the next day even though she wasn't working to check on us.
mm.
And that whole day that we had Sebastian, I kept saying he smelled so good, he smelled so good. And when our nurse walked in, my mom said, "What are you wearing?" And she thought she had offended her by her scent. She's like, "I'm so sorry if it's too strong." She's like, "No, you smell like Sebastian. What are you wearing?"
Oh,
And so it's a scent actually called Because of You. And so I was able to find that scent, and so I can have that smell always because I know what he smelled like.
oh, man, really? That is scent is such a I think is such a strong memory, like, puller in, like, it pulls on those
Mhm.
memories so well, and it brings you right back to
Like, I kept his little knot hat, and I'll smell it
smell
after I
it.
sprayed it, and just it brings the memories that because I don't have a lot of memories from that day because of the medication, so the few memories that I have, I smell that hat, and it just brings it back, which can be hurtful sometimes, but also it
Well,
brings me joy that I get to remember my baby.
yeah, that's the key.
Mhm.
Oh, Paige, this was so nice to hear about Sebastian, and I'm so sorry. That is when you're just like, "Oh, he's perfect, right? He's just perfect." And you're
Yes.
like, "Darn that placenta," and are just always so shocked by it, but I'm so sorry for
Thank
your
you.
loss. I'm grateful to be able to hear all of it because it's so fun to hear birth stories,
Well,
I think. So,
I'm grateful that we get to tell it. Like we went to a walk recently and we did an interview there and I said anytime I can talk about my baby, I will.
well, thank you again, Paige. I
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
this so much.
Thank you.